Adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Strike the clock, struck at midnight. Blacksmith will erase the light. Battle cry, watch them die on the front line. Evil eyes in the eyes next of the sun.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with our next guest. They're a little bit north and a little bit west from me, up in the Tampa area, and I love the Tampa area and the music scene there. So let's welcome to this show, Cold Steel. How are you?
Yeah, man.
Living, baby. Thanks for having us, man.
Doing good. Thank you for having us, Pipe Man.
Oh, my pleasure, man. And you guys are badass. And I contribute that to the Tampa metal scene because I was listening to your new music. And I'm like, man, it just sounds like every great metal you could possibly imagine that would come out of that area. You know, you guys sound unique, but you also have that familiar sound of like some of the greats that came out of your area.
Oh,
Thanks, brother.
That's so flattering, man. Thank you. Yeah, man. Rafi had a good hand. One of our guitarists had a great hand in writing everything, and I think that dude bleeds Tampa through and through. So, yeah, we're super grateful for the gracious words, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and what I think's cool about it too is, okay, so I'm a metalhead from way back from when you could only like a certain type of music, but we actually did like a bunch of other types. You just either weren't allowed to admit it or weren't allowed to go to a show. And I find that's what your band is, and what makes you unique is you combine like all of the heavy genres that I like, you know, all in one place, you know. It has a thrashy sound to it. It has a partial death metal sound to it, hardcore sound. It puts it all together to make you sound like you.
Definitely. I think I definitely agree with that. A lot of us were in different sounding metal bands. I was in deathcore bands, metalcore bands, now a thrash/metal band. Thrifty, you were playing reggae. You know what I
Nice.
mean? Like we're all over the spot, you know. I think we hit a lot of good places with just our influences alone, and they come varied and vast.
See, I love that too nowadays, especially because I find like the bands I like the most are the ones that have so many different blended, genres, influences, that bring it to the table and make it sound unique. Because a lot of metal bands nowadays are just like, they plug in this formula, I find a lot of times, and everybody in the band is into the same exact subgenre, microgenre, and that makes it sound the same as every other band because there's nothing being added to the recipe.
Yeah, I heard that. People are definitely following a formula nowadays, but it's nice to find somebody that's like really true to their passion and writes whatever they want to write,
Yeah,
no doubt.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, as formulaic as it may seem, like I think just us figuring each other out and what we all like and compromising to one spot, you don't necessarily need to start in one specific place, Like
Yeah.
one day Thrifty can come through with just a simple two-step groove on drums, and then we'll play whatever we feel around that. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to stick to a label or a genre in that way, but I think we all just love heavy music, and yeah, I think the music represents a lot of the different versions of heaviness that we really like and respect.
Yeah, and I think heavy music takes you on a journey. And when you do combine all those different elements, that's what makes the journey. Like if the verse 1 is the same as verse 3, and the riffs in the beginning are the same as the middle as the end, like all completely the same, I don't think that has as much heaviness as bands like you that like 1 second you're in one vibe, and then a few seconds later you're in a different vibe.
Hmm. I can rock with that. I rock with that. And I agree to a certain extent. Like, the one thing that comes to mind is like songs like "The Day That Never Comes," Metallica. Like the
Yes.
verses are exactly the same, but that's still one of the dopest songs ever written somehow.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good ass
for
song.
them still making songs like that in 2009, redefining their own version of heavy, but the diversity, like the different things they did, definitely shine more. So definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Well, think about from any like band, even going to the Beatles, okay?
Hmm.
The Beatles could not be labeled into one genre because like one album there may be one genre and then another album there is something different. I think that's the key of being a true artist is you kind of evolve and you experiment. I also think that's the whole idea of metal and how metal started is experimenting and not just going by what is the norm. It's like figuring out what kind of sound you can make.
100%, brother.
Yeah, no question, man. Like, yeah, I would leave it at that. I agree with you totally.
And Metallica is a perfect example of that. I'm glad you brought that up because I was at Metallica's first show ever in LA.
What?
Oh,
And
dude.
Rub it in, dude. Rub it
I
in.
know,
Yeah, go
right?
ahead. Go
I
on for a
know.
few minutes, man.
and I was one of those assholes from the 80s that was like when the Black album came out,
Oh,
me and my 24 hardcore fans were like, fuck those posers, blah, blah,
what?
blah, blah, blah,
No.
sellouts. And, but you know what? As I got a little older, a little more mature and gone through the whole cycle of Metallica, it's like, you know what? You listen to James and he talks about those old days of how he sang and he says, I sucked. Now we thought his voice was the best ever. And it was like, now, like even with Seek and Destroy, he was saying in an interview recently, I heard him saying about, they play it at the hockey game, but they play the old version, not the newer version. He goes, I learned how to sing. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing in that first version. Why are they playing that one? It sucks. And I can see both sides of it. And I can see the side of
Yeah.
him as the artist and them as the artist. It's like, why would you want to stay a garage band? Why
Mm.
why wouldn't you want to get better at your craft, experiment? And they've gotten a lot of hate sometimes for like doing all these different things, whether it be, you know, doing the album with Lou Reed or like stuff that was on Reload. I'll even say
Mhm.
Saint Anger because I think there's some songs on Saint Anger that I like. I love Frantic.
Yeah,
I,
dude.
right.
Mhm.
I love Invisible Kid, and everybody talks
Yeah,
about the
baby.
drums on Saint Anger. I'm like, I think the drums were pretty badass, actually. You know?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Crazy.
you're speaking to the choir, man. I'm with you on that. It's like I think we can relate it to our music because like our first two EPs are crossover. That's the first word that comes to mind. It's just thrash and metalcore put together, and this new record that we're doing definitely has elements of that. But there's definitely different routes that we've taken to try and solidify what the cold steel sound is, at least for what it is now. You know,
Yeah.
I think it speaks more to the comfort levels of what you want to do and what you want to change. We wanted just to make a record, and we were completely okay with compromising what may have been an original sound, but not necessarily compromising the integrity of the music. We still have those moments of thrash, those crossover heavy moments, and we may play them forever. We may play them until next record. I'm not sure. We'll wait till that
I lo-
happens. But
and I love that. I love that
yeah,
because
man.
listen, you're an artist, okay? You want to explore your craft and what you can do and evolve, and it I don't know, it's like why would you want to write the same song over and over again?
Hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, unless if it ain't broke, don't fix it too. I see that side too. If people can rock with it and want to do that, go for it. Absolutely. Uh,
I think artists should do whatever they want to do. That's my point. You
yeah, I'll
know,
shake your hand on that.
you're the artist, right? you're you're the artist, man, and like I've always felt that. Like, I was very involved in that 80s metal scene, and I got out of the scene because it pissed me off what the record labels were telling artists to do. And I'm like, I think the business people should be there, but they should do the business stuff. And the
Yeah.
artist should do the creative stuff.
Yep.
That's the way it should be. And it's funny. I'm going to piss you off even more because you said crossover. I was at the first crossover show ever. Like,
Okay, this guy,
like I know, like I wasn't allowed, but I wasn't allowed to go to punk shows. Like I was a long hair and I loved punk, and I couldn't go because I'd get my ass beat. That's
Oh,
what. So
Jesus.
that first crossover show, it was insane actually. So
Of
it was at the
course.
Sun Valley Sportsman's Lodge, which was like this Elks Lodge,
Sick.
and there was no security. I don't think the Elks Lodge had any idea what was coming into that building. Okay. And so you had on like the metal side, you had this band Savage Grace, which was a pretty popular thrash band in LA that never really made it too much farther than that. And it was, let's see, Dark Angel, and it was Possessed on the
Damn,
metal
bro.
side. On the punk side was Suicidal pre crossover. It
Mm-hmm.
was COC pre Pepper. So when
Damn.
they were hardcore, and the Descendants. And when I tell you, like, it's it's my most memorable gig, and I've been to like thousands of them. There was no place to hide in that venue. I mean, there were people like climbing up on the rafters, and you can't even call it stage diving because it wasn't off the stage. People flying through the air, and it was just this brutality of finally the punks and the metalheads figuring out that we should be together. Like, because I always thought it was stupid. The jocks would kick both of our asses and we would fight with each other. We should have band together. And that's why it's beautiful that we have bands like you guys today, where you can go to, like, I go on tour and I do festivals all over the US, UK, Europe, where you can have every type of heavy music at one festival and everybody get along.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
brother.
a dream. It's a dream, dude. Like,
Right? You
yeah,
know?
I couldn't imagine like being raised in like the '80s climate. I'm a sensitive boy, so different things like that. Who knows what could have happened then? But like being, circling back to Tampa, like coming to shows all the time where you have acoustic acts opening shows, and then you have bands like Adalia headlining them. Like
Nice.
melodic hardcore, and then you have shows where like I don't know, bands like Holly Maddox playing with 8 strings, or like, I can go forever about it. But the fact that you can circle around a city that created death metal, but find so much more and be able to expand on so much more of it as a young person, I think we're spoiled for choice. And I think it shows with the stuff that we make together. And who knows what else we'll make from here. I'm just excited for people to hear what we got now. It's gonna be
So
awesome.
so tell us about the new album, and what was the process going into that album opposed to your previous stuff, and like what ended up, how did it start, and how did the final project come about?
Hmm. That's a good question. So me and Thrifty, we aren't original members. We weren't there for the making of the first two EPs. I don't know if you were there for the second EP, Thrifty. Um,
No, I wasn't.
Okay, so yeah, we're probably the two newest people. But the first two EPs were done with Rafi and Jose, our vocalist, and one of our guitarists. They worked with Hunter Young, who's in Mood Ring, worked with Psycho Frame, has a really good repertoire of artists. He's a brilliant artist. He was playing shows in bands called Silence as well that I looked up to a lot. So when me and Thrifty joined, I call Brandon Thrifty, by the way, my bad. When I joined, I was the last one to join. We were just putting out our second record, EP record, whatever. Um,
It's all the
and
same.
all the same stuff, man. We were playing shows around that for a little while. Took our first trip to Alabama. Took a trip to Texas with a different drummer, our friend Devin. Big up, Devin. I love you. Um, and we kind of circled around, started to make music again. Um, and our guitarist Rafi left for a little bit because he had personal reasons. I won't go into details with that, but he had to go for a little bit, figure himself out, do his thing. He came back into the fold, and listened to some of the stuff that me and some of my guitarists are writing. It was like, look, I love this, and what you guys are doing is great, but a cold steel record, it may not be in the same direction. So he sat down in a month, wrote 7 songs, and
In a month.
flawless, basically. And
I love that.
flawless, dude. He, like, I, because I watched Draffy in different bands growing up, and this was like exponential. Wow. I couldn't imagine he would come back with the stuff that he wrote for the record. So after he did that, we all came together to help shape those songs and create a couple more. One of them being Blacksmith, where me, Shawn, and Raph kind of came together, and then everyone else came up with details. Um, by that point, we basically had everything together. We got the offer from Spine Farm, which Matt Heafy essentially referred us over to Spine Farm and was like, "Hey, I played a show with these guys once. They're incredible." Uh,
Nice.
Matt Heafy from Trivium, what a legend! Like the fact he would say anything like this about a band that we're in, like
Kind of blows your mind, right?
Ascendancy was the first record, like first metal record physical I ever bought. For reference, I cried so hard. Won't dive into it. Point being, um, him hitting up Spine Farm and then them reaching out to us, being like, "Hey, we gotta make a record. You guys are awesome." Matt he like respects y'all and wanted to put y'all on. So from there, we got placed in with Arthur Rizk, who is the guitarist of Cold World. We flew to Philly and literally recorded a record together in his studio, and it still feels like a fever dream that we even had the opportunity to do that. Uh, yeah, when we got in the studio and just being able to see what Arthur's ideas were, how things were flowing in, how to rearrange some of the things we worked on together, and to hear his ideas as to how to really exude the cold steel sound out of what we're making. That stuff's invaluable, entirely invaluable. And I'm so grateful for the combined work we all came to together. Um, and then that's not even mentioning like Difty knocked out drums in like 2 days because he's a monster and one of the best drummers
Wow.
I've ever seen in my life. Like I could glaze all my members forever. I think they're all geniuses in their own right. Um, Everything was done except lyrics because Jose is a poet before a musician. He wants to make sure his words are good. Um, he took his time to make the record. We could not give him any, like, am I allowed to curse? I'm not gonna give him any bullshit. You can
You
censor.
can
I'm
you
sorry.
can curse all you want.
Nice. Anyway,
You can say
um,
whatever the fuck you want.
whatever the fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Nice, nice. But point being, Jose wants to make sure his words are perfect. He went back up to record vocals, and we still finished some up here. But like to help him get his message across with this record essentially being the reflection of how we see the world these days and how negative and distraught things have become over the last few years, to come together to compile it into thoughtful and powerful messaging that I am just endeared to the fact that is on record. The
I
fact that
love
we
it.
all have our message, our passion on record with people that care about it. So many people that we all looked up to when we were so young and to this day. And then to where we are now, playing with shows in December with Obituary and still being able to play local shows at the same time. We This record is showing our dream, and we don't even know where it's going.
I love it. And
It's the best.
I want to focus on some of the things you were talking about, because it's like first of all, who produces your album, I think, can make all the difference in the world. I mean, we talked about the Black album earlier. If it weren't for the producer of that album, we might not know that album to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Facts. Complete facts. Like this album, the way that's made, it's Arthur Rizk coded entirely. And this is not to diss Hunter Young in any way either, because that dude has done so much for those first two EPs to establish the band. So of course we're grateful for that. But the work Arthur did, like, just touched my heart in a certain way, just because I was there. That's just my perspective on it. Um, but the rest of the record, you hear Arthur Rizk. The whole thing is through this thing. So yeah, I don't know if this will be a black album for us. Like,
Maybe
I'll
it
never
will.
compare us to Metallica type beat, but well, I'm just grateful that we got to do one with him in the first place. That's my guy, Guitar Arthur.
But that's the same thing as, you were talking about finding your sound. I think people don't realize that bands don't find their sound until like a few albums in. Like, and that's what's tough, because when you're like one of the original fans, you want to hold on to that raw garage band sound that you fell in love with, but that wasn't necessarily the band's sound. That was the band's sound then in the beginning. Probably most of the time when it came back in the day, metal and punk, where you didn't even know how to play your instrument yet, and so I think that's what people miss out on, is like, as you're a few albums in, you finally find what you really want to sound like, and you have kind of learned how to play your instrument the way you want to play it, type of thing.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think with us, it's more so just knowing we wanted to play heavy music together. I
Yeah,
don't think we necessarily knew, or almost didn't really care what kind of sound it landed on.
right.
It's just like the people in the band, we're all just friends. Like, we hang out and just
That's
we're
so
just going.
important. That's
Yeah,
so
exactly.
important, man. If you're not
Yeah.
friends and you're on the road all the time, especially in those early days when you're in a van and always together, man, you're going to kill each other if you're not friends.
Yeah, real deal. Even though I feel like sometimes I want to kill Thrifty. Sometimes he just bullshits me with his memes, man, and
Dude,
it gets me to a point.
I
Oh,
uh,
can't help it, man. I go goofy mode whenever I'm around the boys because I just want to make them laugh,
and
nice.
that's it.
And and you know what? That's the best medicine besides music. Laughter's the best medicine, because
Yeah.
people don't realize when you're a musician, and they look at you like, oh, you're living the dream life. And in some ways you are, but in other ways it's like it can be hell, you know? And so you
Sure.
need laughter to diversify from that hell, you know?
Yeah, you couldn't be more right.
And I
It's
love
just a
your
fact.
message.
He's like, oh hell no. He's giving me a platform to be goofy on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Let that goofiness fly, man.
Let's go.
You know, That and you know what's cool about that is everybody thinks that metalheads are like totally dark and serious all the time, but some of the goofiest people I know are metalheads,
100%, brother.
right?
Were you like
Yeah.
were you a class clown in high school? Were you on the yearbooks for that at all?
I was for sure.
Oh, dude. That's
I
all I was. Like I was just the big boy everyone knew, but I had a sense of humor behind it and hands behind it if people had problems, but that's not the point. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
ditto, same.
yeah, man, like it's all just like yes, we want to represent the music we play properly, and we do. But first and foremost, we're friends. We give love. We spread love. Thrifty knows all about that. That's his thing. Like
Nice.
it's there's nothing better than being up there with those other five guys and playing our fucking hearts out every damn time. It doesn't get old. There's not a song I don't want to play because it's been played too many times or whatever. Like people give us a platform,
That's
physical,
that's way
metaphorical,
cool.
whatever. That's the point. We get to do it in the first place, and we're grateful that we get to do anything local, let alone whatever scale this goes from.
And I love the idea of your message because what pisses me off in the past few years
Tell
is
them,
all
Pipe
these
Man.
people is all the people saying that musicians, artists should just stick to the music. Hello. Do you know about every music ever in history was always a message? It was always some kind of protest. It was always speaking up. That's what music's about, man. And it's cathartic for you, the artist, so you can get this stuff out of you. And for us, it's therapy too, you know? And you know what? You should have a voice. Why would people that are getting up and doing what you do not have a voice? To me, that's pop music, and I'm not into pop.
I do love me some pop music, but man, if you're gonna give me a microphone, how are you gonna tell me how to use my voice?
No doubt. Like it's like you should. That's what writing a song is about, isn't it? Like you don't write a song most of the time you don't write a song just making shit up. You write a song that comes from inside, and frankly, as somebody that was in the '80s, I'm a little like bugged that in 2025 I feel like we're back in the '80s again. You could take songs that were written in the '80s, change the names, and it's still an appropriate song today. And that's why musicians, artists need to spread their voice so we don't have to keep having the same thing happen over and over again.
Exactly.
I
You
have a
want to speak on that, Thrifty?
let's hear it.
What'd you say?
You
He
want to speak
said, "Do
on
you
that?
want to speak on that?"
No, I agree, brother. I mean, everyone's got a voice. Everybody has a truth to speak, you know. And
Yeah,
from my point of view as a drummer, talk about cathartic energy, bro. Like it is just energy and passion. And like what I have to say is necessarily voiceless, you know. It's
yeah,
movement and energy and my voice through movement. And I agree though, like lyrically it can get kind of twisted, it can get kind of old and moldy and the same thing repeated over and over again. But like either way, you got to speak your truth. And I think that the more honest people are, like Jose, our vocalist, and a lot of other bands nowadays that are just like raw and truthful in the
yeah.
way that they portray themselves and the way that they speak and lyricize, I think that's the most important thing you can do. And people, consumers, fans all align with the truth. They hear it, they see it, they feel it, man. And if someone's not being honest or truthful, vocally or not, energetically, it's you can read that shit from a
Oh
mile
yeah,
away, bro. People are
you can
receptive.
tell.
Like a book.
Yeah, like a book,
Oh,
man. You know,
it's so transparent, you know,
100%, bro.
and I think the key to being a great artist is just being yourself. That's
Genuine
it,
energy, dude.
That's it, bro.
Bang!
right?
Exactly.
You
You couldn't
know,
have said it any clearer, dude.
exactly. And you know, like you said something about, you know, people everybody has their own truth. Like why
Yeah.
shouldn't people have a voice? They don't have to agree. Not everybody has to agree, but everybody should have a voice. And whoever it relates to, you'll find your people. And that's the thing. If you're an artist, you're not going to find your people by being fake. You're going to find your people by being real and speaking your truth. And then people will align with you that feel the same way.
Exactly. If we were so worried about what we're speaking on, we wouldn't say it. But we just want to put our word out, our energy out, the word of Cold Steel, whatever people transpire it to be. But yeah, we're just going to do it because we love doing it. And it's our word and it's our true word. And
Nice.
anything past that, anything good, anything bad, that is just what happens. It's connection. People
Yeah.
aren't always going to resonate with what you say, but the people that do, the people that get it, it's not that it matters more, but it matters in a selfish manner, in
Yeah,
a
no
heart,
doubt.
you know.
And there's so much conflict out there that
Mm,
music like yours helps with that conflict, in my opinion.
I appreciate that, man.
Thanks,
And I
man.
think the rest of us do too. Like, I don't think we have an objective other than this is our word.
Yeah.
Here you are. If you want to hear it, go for it. If you want to talk to us about it, go for it. If you don't, that's cool. There's so many other bands, so many good bands, so many people worth the time. As long as people find their message through whatever they're listening to or writing or whatever, congrats. That
Yeah.
is the point. Find your
That
place.
that's the goal. That's the goal. So tell everybody how they can reach out to you on socials, on the web, how they can get the new album. It drops November 7th, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, November
Okay.
7th, Discipline and Punish, full length record. Um, our Instagram is at Cold Steel Band FL. That's the main place. And the link in our bio is our link tree. You'll be able to pre order our record, pre order vinyl, see all of our music videos, and send us a message if you really rock with it, comment, whatever you want to do. But I hope everyone listens to the record when it comes out. I hope they like the songs. And yeah, Cold Steel is the best.
There you go. You guys do fucking rock, man. And it did, it's funny, it's modern, but it brought me back to back in the day. Like it just and I love too that the collaboration type of thing that you do and that it's not all the same, you know, and it appeals to all my schizophrenic personalities.
I'm glad
Glad
it
we can help,
resonates.
man. Glad we can
We
help.
got the same shit, dude.
Right?
Trust me. Getting six dudes together to agree, sometimes that ain't a perfect world, man. Oh,
No, it
but
isn't. Hats off to you though, to have that many people with that many opinions and actually come out with a badass album at the end of the day.
couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
So thanks for bringing us this music. Thanks for speaking your truth and giving us your voice. And thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipe Man.
Thanks
My
for
God,
listening,
Pipe
Pipe Man.
Thank you for your time, man. Big love to everybody.
Anytime.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipe Man on W4CY Radio.